Dave, good morning. Welcome in. Roberto, ¿cómo está? Jose, buenos dias. Bowman, how you doing this morning? Oh, get my hands to start working. Warren, good morning. How you doing today? Pompano. Just trying to get these hands working, guys. Sorry. Was up late last night with we did a live last night from 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. and my body's not used to doing the extra couple of hours of napping, and especially what we were doing last night. Good morning, Todd. I don't know if Todd, did you get a chance to check the were you in the live last night? I'm sorry, I was kind of concentrating on what I was doing last night, and a lot of people, I mean, I'm probably going to forget a lot of people that were in there, but I kind of limited myself to basically a handful of tools. These were the bone tools that I used, and then the hammer stones that I used was just that right there. And then, right on. Yeah, it got a little funny in there last night. I don't know, we kind of got it, we're able to cut loose a little bit in there. I try to keep it fairly family friendly, but occasionally some of the comments may get out there a little bit. But, in the evening it's a little different. This to me is more just about hanging out and sharing information and not giving everybody a hard time and all that. So, but as soon as my hands kind of start working a little bit. Chiefs, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. There's that. Well, the light from this camera angle does not show it as well, but there it is. You can see that flute that went from the base all the way to the tip and took out part of the tip. So we're going to set up this side today and flute it. Oh, I forgot. I left a tool out. I had my indirect is how I fluted it. So the tools I showed you, and then this to flute it with. The guys there, everybody that was watching, I asked permission. I said, I'd like to flute this because of the way it was starting to work out. And if I could just have one, add a couple of tools, I could really do something cool with it. And they agreed, so we did add those two tools there. All right. It's going to be quite a bit of pressure flaking for the rest of the setup on this. This ridge is really nice. This is the non-fluted side. There you can see the flute channel. Well, this reverse always gets me. Good morning, Terry. How are you doing today? That's what we did last. Were you in there last night, Terry? I didn't remember seeing your name, but like I was telling Todd, there's going to be people that were in there that I don't remember because I was really working hard trying to not mess up. DJ, good morning. But we're gonna put this other side, set it up, and then flute it today, and then we're gonna. Yeah, Terry, I've had the water running for 2 days here. It got down. Well, I couldn't tell you what exactly it is right now, but it's somewhere around 0. It's supposed to warm up pretty quick today into the low or the mid to upper teens. So tomorrow we're supposed to get to almost freezing, and then Saturday everything's supposed to get better. So that's what I'm holding on for. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Good morning, Justin. Kind of snuck in on me there, but yeah, that's what it was, like 0 here this morning, because we got down to -3 or 4 last night. You didn't make it in last night. Look at this. This was with a handful of tools and then shaft punch fluted. You can see the flute there. So I'm going to set this other side up. I'm going to lose a little bit of length off of it because there's a little dip here where my fluting platform would go. Mithril Storytell, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, 17. Yeah, it is. I mean, Todd, it was a blast here. I mean, they said that for our area, you know, in this time of the year, that it was going to be close to record-setting temperatures. I mean, that's how out of the normal it is for us at this time of year. Now, we had a few years ago, we did set record lows. It got to -28 here at my house in northwest Arkansas, and it was that was scary cold. 10 in Tennessee, yeah. You guys I think are catching more of that moist warm air that's coming up from the south, and we're right where the corner of that dip from that frickin' Arctic trough is coming down at. So I'm just ready for it to warm up. But see, that's the thing about it. You know, that's what I was telling everybody. The reason everybody's freaking sick is it's supposed to be like, I think they're calling Tuesday of this coming week like 68 degrees, you know? And my old body just does not adjust to temperature swings that quick, and the barometric pressure and all that stuff. And that's what's really, you know, saying good morning to me. Yes, sir. Well, Terry, you can get in them now. It's just, you know, it's just hey, everybody wants to be a caveman until it's time to do caveman stuff, huh? But yeah, I'm ready too, Terry. I'm looking forward to when you guys visit northwest Arkansas and being able to meet you and get together for a day or so. Just ready for the warmer weather. Donnie, good morning. I hear that. I know how that is now. That's what I was fishing a tournament one year. Well, I've told the story, but we used to fish it every year. It's called the Polar Bear Classic, and they had it on January 1st every year here in northwest Arkansas in Beaver Lake. And we went out, it was 6 degrees that morning when we left the boat ramp. And, you know, after a long cold run up the lake and several warm cups of coffee to start the day off with, you know, I had to pee. And I told my fishing partner, I said, man, I'm not even sure this is possible. I said, I got too many layers of clothes on and not getting any cooperation because it's cold. That was one of those days where it's like, I'm just hoping I can pee past the, you know, at least 2 or 3 layers. Cause shoot, I had long johns and then sweats and then a pair of outdoor pants and then coveralls over the top of that. We were trying to figure it out, you know, what the exact you know, because I know wind speed has a lot to do, or is what to do with wind chill and humidity and all that. But we were trying to figure out what the wind chill would have been for us. We were running down the lake, and my partner only knew one speed on that boat, and that was full out. And we were in a Stratus SS Extreme, 22 foot with a 250 horse on the back of it. That boat would run like 82 with both of us in it. Yeah, Todd, I hear you. That's, you know, when you got to get out in it, that's, you definitely got to have the correct clothing. But yeah, that was a rough day of fishing. We ended up, I think, on third that day. What I'm doing here, guys, is and I'll explain a little bit more. I'm turning this other edge back so I can do one set of flakes that'll, I'm gonna try to make this center ridge on this side be a little bit more isolated. But I don't want these flakes, it'd be really easy to send these flakes all the way across this piece and flatten it too much. What I'm wanting to keep the convexity that I've built up in that. Tell you what, I'm gonna get a little bit sharper point so I can pull smaller flakes too. For sake of time, I'll use this. I don't have a bunch of them laid out. I was trying to use same tools I started it with, so got my little drywall rasp over there that I use for basic shaping on some stuff, and saves a little time. Hey, good morning. But I actually prefer, that's why you'll see me dress them down this way. I like the finish, or it's just like, you know, I've told you guys, if you're using a billet and it gets kind of ratted up and it gets the chunks and stuff in it, and then you go to hit a platform and it hits in one of those divots, that's usually when you'll get a bad flake. Yeah, Donnie, I'm having coffee this morning, man. I was jazzed up last night. Got off the live at 10 o'clock. We made this live on camera, the first flute, and set it up with a handful of tools, and then fluted it with the indirect. So I was pretty jazzed up, to say the least. I like, anytime one of these comes out, even one-sided on the flute, I consider it a win for me, because you know, the original people that made these broke about half of them. Bubba, good morning. How you doing? You know, that's why I've said that, you know, archaeologists, based on, you know, I mean, they can't be exact, and that's why it varies so much, but between 40 and 60% of the tools that they attempted to make of this style broke during manufacturing. So, you know, if I can get, you know, 2 out of 10, I'd be happy. And lately my success rate's going up, so I'm encouraged by that. It's like I was telling the guys last night, we were in there, and as I was working this piece, I said that's got the right contours to be a Folsom. Did you get in TikTok trouble, Bubba, or you just... So I was giving Nappy Pappy a hard time last night about him and Dennis having some kind of a burner phone relationship. He was in talking a bunch of smack. See, now there's an example. I was trying to keep those from going all the way across the top, and you can see how after this is handled where this area where the oil's on my hand, and you can see that last flake that I just took, and it went all the way over the top of that ridge. It didn't hurt us too bad, but you can see how I was trying to stop these other flakes short of that so that it really sets that ridge out. And you can see on the side where I pulled the flakes off how much steeper, if I can get it in focus. And I'm gonna do the same thing coming back the other way. Damien, good morning. Just changing it up, huh? Well, right on. I'm glad you're in here. As soon as we can dig our way out to get to the... Right. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. Well, after I get done setting this up and attempting the second flute, I'm probably going to do a lot more yeah, well, a lot of them were Napper Jib, you know, but I mean, they ranged anywhere. I think the average range was like 4 to 7 millimeters thick, you know, or thin in the flutes. That's where the average was. So several of them that I've made lately have been within that range. They're a delicate point, but I believe that the fluting was done a lot earlier in the process than most people do. And then the edges are refined and brought to that flute is the way that the flaking patterns show off the casts that I've been studying. You know, that's what everybody assumes that, you know, kind of like with a Clovis. Well, DJ, I appreciate that. This is one of my favorite things to do while having a cup of coffee or herbal tea as the day may dictate, but today it was coffee. I even told the wife, I said, she's working from home. We're still, well, this would have been her normal work from home day anyway, but the weather here, she's been home all week. She was off on Monday, and you know, we've basically gotten snowed in here where we're at. So I told her, I said, I'm taking a nap. After I get done with the live and a couple things today, I'm taking a nap. Because I was pretty jazzed up last night after the live. It's always exciting for me, like I said, to make one of these that even gets to this point. Don't crush there. See, I didn't like the first 2 of those little flakes. I'm going to have to go back and fix because they set up a little step. You can see the difference in the height of that right there. So I'm going to have to do something to fix that before I flute it, or that will cause me problems. All right, let me look at this right here. We might be okay. Yeah, and Jeb, I think that's some of that could be due to the process. You know, they get that first flute off that biface, and then they started working everything else to that other side, and they're working towards that flute, and that kind of goes with. Hey, Carl. Good morning. But I think that they were working, you know, they worked towards that. I've had the opportunity to watch Dennis Leach is just he's phenomenal. Now he uses the like the Solberger jig or the compression type jigs on those. But I think even at a heavy, early stage on those, I believe that you could probably do those with an indirect, almost like a blade core. Well, I don't know if we're going to get enough meat there to get this to We may have to go a little farther in here to get the thickness of the platform I'm going to need for trying to send one all the way to the tip. So this second flute is really, it's the one that makes or breaks it, literally, you know. And it's one of those that the first side you take, you try to flute the side that you know is the easiest, or going to give you the longest flute, because the chances of losing some of the tip plus resetting this platform up, it's going to shorten, obviously, a little bit the distance here. So you want to flute the side that, and take care of that, or it's going to take off the rest of the tip. You flute the side that's going to be the longest or easiest to flute, and save the other one so that as you work back into the piece, that you've got, you know, more area to set up the tougher flute. All right, we're getting there now. That one little spot right there was still bothering me, but we'll see what we can do here. There, I got some of it. Sorry guys, this part of it is, you know, I'm trying to, I don't want to ignore you guys, but there's this tiny little hinge, and I know it doesn't look like a lot, but you can see that little ridge right there in that piece. That's a spot for that energy from this flute flake to run out to and split this really, really low down here. You want it to be more like this side and how it's set up, and you see how all of those flakes are clean, and you've got a steep, like a ridge this way. There's a couple of spots on this side that aren't like that. Yeah, they're called a Pandale point. You probably saw Jason Newman's. Jason is really good at making those. I have made one a long time ago, but they're pretty crazy looking blade for sure. But yeah, I'd say it was probably Jason that made it. He's one of the best that I've seen, modern nappers that are still around doing that. Let me sharpen this again. There used to be, well, anybody, if you're familiar with flint napping history, there's a guy, his name was, they called him Swoose. And I can't, Mr. Alexander, I think was his last name. But I got the chance to hold one of his Pandales that he made, and it had to have been one of the finest crafted artifacts that I ever held in my life. So those are really killer blades. The Pandales are. All right. Trying to get that. Got the same hoodie? Yeah, my wife just got this for me here, a couple, 3 weeks ago. She keeps an eye out on the Tractor Supply and all that. Anytime they've got new t-shirts in or put them on sale, she gets me some. This side is so much more crucial than the first side because you're dealing with less mass and material, and you're dealing usually with the side that's a little bit more difficult to flute. That first side that we had last night, if you were in here, it was just a really nice isolated ridge that I just knew when I looked at it. I was like, this thing will flute like a, you know, son of a gun. And this side is looking pretty good now. We've got a little bit more prep work to do to set that fluting nipple up right here, the platform. But for right now, you can see if I can get my fingers out of the way, you can see that ridge and how it's kind of isolated down that point. And it's kind of like what, you know, we've talked about the topography and how that flake wants to travel to a given height on that point and then follow that. And that's why all these little picks and these, like this right here, it concerns me a little bit. I should probably go in and try to fix that before, because any little place where it gets thicker and there's a little bit of a change in the topography of the point, you know, the contours of it, it's another you know, contour lines. It's a spot where that energy wants to flare out. And now I have to be conscious of my other side and not blow flakes through my flute. Yeah, Rick, right on. I saved it, you know, didn't do any work on it last night after I got off the live, and wanted for you guys that were able to be in here and see it to finish it if you could make it in this morning. So keep our fingers crossed on this next flute, because like I said, it used to bother me a lot, because, you know, you guys were in here last night when I was making this. There's a lot of effort that goes into making one of these the right way, you know, with the correct lines and everything. And when you break more than half of them that you start, it can be really disheartening, especially, you know, that's people, you know, when they'll ask you, well, how much you want for one of those? Well, and you give them a number depending on the material, and their eyes pop out. And I'm like, you know, I had to make, you know, 2 or 3 of those, 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, to get that piece. Okay, I got some of that. And I got some of that. I think I can live with those. You know, this is probably one of the hardest point styles to replicate with these tools that's out there. Yeah, it was a pretty chunky piece, and I've lost a lot of size on it, Rick. I'm not, you know, I mean, you were in there. It was a rock that was about, it was built a lot like this piece of Tallahassee quartzite that I've got over here that I've been eyeballing. I'm gonna probably work at some point, but you know, it was comparable to that in size. It was, you know, but it was chunky and had some stuff in it. But if I can get a fulsome out of it, I will be a happy camper. Rico, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Took a little bit of my edge on that last little flake there. But like I said, a lot of the reforming, you know, when once the other flute is off, then we'll go in and do edge trimming and get everything lined up like it's supposed to. And that's where you'll see the classic fulsome lines and stuff, you know. I mean, it's close now, but it's that final edge work and bringing everything together that is what really makes these look right. Okay. Got a spot right there I can see in the shadows. I have to take down just a little bit. Right here, there's a little bit of mass that has to come off there. All right. Dennis, good morning. Getting ready to try to flute this Folsom. Do the other side of it anyway. Put another sharp on this. Like I said, if I'd had it, I'm just trying to use the same tools I started it with, so if you'll bear with me as I have to resharpen. Usually I keep several of these dressed up. Yeah, Dennis, I'm just setting it up. We're gonna see. The lines aren't bad on it. I got a pretty good ridge for the flute to follow, so that's what I'm doing. The final setup on that platform right now. So give me just within a few minutes here, we'll be fluting it. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. And when I'm doing this, I'm not grinding these little grooves on either side of that platform. I'm just trying to hit just the tip of that platform so that it's nice and smooth, and that tool makes good contact there, and that I'm expecting it to break just inside those little sharp spots. It works kind of the same. It's like I told you guys, when you got a big removal off of a piece, why you go back and clean it up and dress it a little bit, because those thin areas. And at this stage, I'm actually using that to help it break where I want it to break. But it's just the opposite of when you're pressure flaking the sides, that you don't want to. And this wasn't a full one today, guys. I didn't go, that's not going to be 2 full cups. There was actually about a cup, maybe a little more. Still trying to cut back on the caffeine. But yeah, I'm using that concept just the opposite way. I'm trying to encourage the rock to break there, and where I want it to break should make it'll absorb enough energy that when it shoots that flake through there, that it should have sufficient energy to get all the way to the end. All right. Let me catch a breath here and we're gonna set up, do this flute. First of all, I'm going to get it set up in here. Let's see, I'm going to make sure I got this ground. One little spot right here that I'm a little concerned about, that I think it's going to be early enough in the flake that I think it's going to go past it. It'll have enough shock energy and then it should trail into the rest of this. Feel pretty good about it. All right. See how this little sucker's going to sit in here. Yeah, we're going to need some little bit of support there for it. This thing's almost too narrow to sit in the little tray that I got there for it. That's a little too much. I'm trying to get it to lay flat without, I don't want any kind of that dip right there. You can see how that's moving up and down. I'm wanting to isolate that and keep it from, I want it as solid in there as I can get it. So I use that leather almost like a little shim to hold it in place. There we go. Well, that little sucker is thin though. it's gonna push the limits of my, I may actually have to turn it the other direction. Yeah, it's not even gonna get down to, let me see if I can do it this way. Sorry guys. This is a narrow, thin little piece. Trying to get it to, most of the time they're a little bit bigger. Let's see. Well, that'd give me just enough right there. Well, I like the way that got really nice and solid. Now I'm not wrapping this real hard. It's just got some pressure on it, just to kind of stabilize it. Matt, I'm getting ready to try to flute a Folsom. We're gonna see how it goes anyway. Oh yeah, I like how solid that feels. Arrow Sniper, good morning. All right. Now, before I do that, I'm guilty of that sometimes. I need to make sure I'm got my angles in my head, you know, because the angle for that flute is crucial. So give me a couple of flakes here just to make sure I got my feelies going good here. Because just a degree or two of angle can make a huge difference. Whether that flute works, goes short, goes, blows it up. So I want that feeling right there where that's just skimming across. One more and I think I'm good. We may work on this one later. No, I'm gonna work some more hammerstone. Keep working on my technique a little. Logan Dale, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. All right. Come on. There it went. All right. Just about too narrow for the tip of my punch to get in there. Well, it drove a flake. You can see the removal. Now we get to find out if it's in 2 pieces or more. Dennis, if you're in here, if you had stuff crossed, you can uncross now. Let's find out together if it's still 1 piece. It is, and it went all the way to the tip. This is going to be a frickin' smoker. I knew it. There went the platform. All the way to the tip again. Look at the cross section of that piece. It ended up rolling and taking just a little bit of the tip. Wish I hadn't dropped that platform. See if I could spot it just real quick. Probably not. There's just a couple of flakes down there, But you can see where I ground that on that tip. Thank you, Todd. Where I ground that tip, how it rolled out right there. There's what we lost off this end on that flute. Was just right at 1/8 of an inch off the length. But we've got, then here was see, now this is a great example though, guys. Remember what I said about that little chunky spot there that I told you that it made me a little bit nervous? I want you to look at the line of that flute. And you see where, when it gets to this little chunked up area, see that little zigzag it made right here? And how it kind of zigged out. It's not in line with the rest of it. That right there is what'll break those. That's why it's so important that you've got that convexity and everything correct for that, because it tried to go towards that mass, but it, just like I said, there was enough force. It was close enough to the base that there was enough force that it shot through that. If that would have been farther up here, it would have probably split the piece in 2. But yeah, guys, I mean, seriously, I've been working on these for a long time. And when I'm getting profiles that are, I'm looking for one that's a little bit more similar, that's thinner. I mean, this is right in it's a little, the Berry County Folsom. This is a cast of an artifact that came from north of here. But this is right in the ballpark of where it's supposed to be for a Folsom. You can see those edges and that flute channel. So anyway, thank you for indulging me on that. kind of geek out on them a little bit, just because they are so difficult to reproduce. So, and you know, that right there, I broke, you know, the last 3 that I've tried have been successful. So I'm 3 for 3 without any major breakages. You know, I don't mind the tip of this thing going away is fine, because I can reshape that the same as what we were talking about last night. You know, it's easily, you know, shaped and slid out of the hafting a little bit. So this thing will shape up nicely. So I may spare you guys all the fine finish work, because it's going to be. Well, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. I get pretty excited about it. Like I said, these are a point style that I have wanted to make correctly for a long time. So, like I said, I'll spare you guys all the tedious finish work, because that's what everything is now, is just moving the edges back and forth and trying not to intrude too far on that flute channel, but to even up these edges. And you'll see it'll get a little bit thinner than that in the middle there, that middle section, but that is you know, base to tip on both sides. You've never attempted it, Dennis? Well, it's like I said, that, you know, it's I couldn't even. Well, thank you, Todd. I don't know if that's true, but thank you for the sentiment anyway, because I get pretty darn excited about the unveiling of them, especially when I knew that it was going to be in one piece. You know, I saw that it didn't break during the flute, so that's always a good sign. So anyway, I'll do some work on this and finish it up later, guys, and then I'll post it. Rico, this right here, once it's finished, will be a fulsome paleo point. It's a very unique style of points that were kind of a continuation of the Clovis culture. They were found around Folsom, New Mexico. There was a George McJunkin, was a cowboy down in that area, and found points like these in association with Pleistocene animals, buffalo, and that's Bison antiquus. That's the old buffalo, not the bison that we have now, but the older ones that were Ice Age animals. And that actually was when the Folsom points were finally accepted. That point was the defining evidence that proved to scientists that humans had been on this continent here in North America for longer than 2,000 or 3,000 years. Because prior to that, Daniel, thank you. Well, I've done, man. I mean, Justin, if he's still in here, can tell you I've got, man, I couldn't even tell you how many archaeological books on the Folsom culture, hunter-gatherer society. E.T., thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But I've done a lot of research on this subject, and the discovery of the Folsom points in association with the Bison antiquus was the proof. Well, right on, Rico. I'm glad, man. Scotty, you're welcome. I've got a couple more videos where I did some, if you like the fluting, if you go up here, I mean, on my profile, I've got several videos where I've done some Clovis points, and I've done the Folsoms. Also, I like the paleo stuff for the most part. I do make some of the archaic points and into the woodland points, but I like working with raw stone for the most part. I like to work with all stone and bone tools. So I don't use anything that. Yeah, Daniel, I've got, well, the Dalton culture is considered to be what they call late paleo or paleo transitional. Rico, thank you. I love just to kind of give you guys a background. I know some of you that have heard this a million times since I've been going live, but I got injured on the job several years ago, almost 10, well, right at 10 years ago. And it was hard for me because, I worked on my whole life and trying to come up with something that kept me busy and tried to retain what was left of my sanity. I've always loved flint knapping, but I really got into it and started really researching it, from a standpoint where I was understanding more about the locations and the uses and the materials and all that stuff. And it really did help kind of pull me through some rough stuff. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share it with you guys. That, if I've got, a few people out there that are into this, there's a lot of folks that kind of hoard this information. They don't want you seeing how they do what they do. And part of that's because they're not doing it how they're telling you is one thing. And the other is, if they do know how to do it, they think it's some kind of secret information that they can't let anybody else know. And the way I've always looked at it is, this is not my knowledge. I've worked at it, and I've tried to work off what I've studied and seen and my ideas. But this was done thousands of years before I ever even had any clue of what it was. That's right, Dennis. And to me, I'm a conduit for that energy, for that information and that knowledge. And if I can help somebody else, guys, like I said, I've been napping for 30 years, but for 20 years of it, I just didn't dedicate a lot of time and a lot of effort to it. That's why I said today, instead of working on something else, I'm going to keep working on a technique that I'm deficient in. I've got a flaw that I'm working on in my hammerstone, my production or my reduction. I'm anticipating the shot too much, and I'm working on that because it's something that'll help make me better. And people that are just getting into this now, how to work in well bridge parts. Oh man, crushed your hand. Sorry to hear that, man. For me, now I injured my back and my sciatic nerve, all of that area, lower lumbar is just junk. And, but I'd encourage you, if you're unable to work right now, is if you're into something like this. Oh, Dennis, I appreciate that. Like I said, I have done a lot of reading, a lot of, oh, dude, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's rough. And, well, I tell you what, though, and not to, I'm not trying to, but to bring some positivity to that. If this is something that you want to learn to do, you absolutely could come up with tools. And I've got a friend of mine that I nap with that he had polio as a child. Now, Bob's getting up there in years, but he's got his right arm is almost completely lame. And Bob does he works with slabs and like that, but he's modified his tools to work for him. So if it's something that you have an interest in, send me a message or something after this, and I'll give you some suggestions on ways that you might be able to modify some tools that would work for you once your hand heals up. Because, like I said, this is something that it's kind of getting into it the way I have has really saved me over the last several years. So, yep, that's right, Dennis. And like I said, I've seen other physically challenged nappers that they came up with ways to do what they do. Well, right on, Rico. Well, if you like to listen to Gavin and watch somebody smack on rocks, I'm your guy. All right. We've got a piece here of I think it's well, I know it's Burlington of some kind, but I think this came out of either eastern Missouri or into Illinois. A friend of mine gave me this. This is some that he collected out of a creek, and I'm trying to work stuff this had a few little flakes taken off of it just to look at it, but it's pretty close to what well, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of the way I feel about it, Rico. I feel like it's a way that, you know, somebody's going to get inspired by watching this that might not have wanted to take it up, but just found it fascinating, and they're going to be the next one to carry that on to somebody else. That's the way I look at it, is that, you know, if one person decides to take what I'm doing here and carry it forward, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Trying to kind of, you want to look just like always. I'm going to look at this and hey, good morning, William Drake. I'm trying to kind of picture where that point is. I'd like to make a Dalton out of this one. This is good Dalton material right here. It would make a beautiful one. So that being said, we're going to try to save some width so that we can get that really good cross section going, but I'm going to do the majority of the reduction work with the hammerstone to try to set up the contours, and then I'll probably use the punch on it. My hands are feeling all that pressure flaking from last night for sure. Well, thank you, Rico. I appreciate it. And like I said, man, you know, if it is something you want to learn, yeah, Dennis. Thank you, Tag. I appreciate it. That's the way I look at it. I actually refer to my work as functional art because I do use a lot of these. Now, some of my prettier pieces, you know, those kind of end up in collections, but the average day-to-day stuff, I make a lot of points that I use for knives and for hunting points and that kind of stuff. So. And that's, to me, you know, that's the beauty of it. It's kind of like if you've ever watched a master machinist, or I think if Zach's still in here, you know, wood turning. You can watch somebody take a functional thing to a level of art. To me, that's, you know, that's where it's at for me. I like being able to take this raw stone because it's, you know, this is essentially sculpting is kind of what I'm doing, you know. It's just removing everything that's not the point that's in the, you know. So I'm looking at this, trying to picture that point within this rock. And then I just remove everything that's not that point. The point's already in there. I just got to let it out, you know. And it's just a big puzzle. Now, like I said, at the risk of saving my joints and my elbows, shoulders, and hands this morning are feeling 4 hours of heavy pressure flaking yesterday for sure. So what we're going to do, yeah, Daniel, it does take a lot of it, and that's the thing I tell a lot of people is, you know, don't base what your work against what you're seeing out there, because you're seeing everybody's wins. You know, I guarantee you, everybody's got what I call the bucket of shame. Everybody's got a place that they throw the points or the stuff that didn't quite go the way they wanted it to. You know, that's why I told you guys on these lives I really like it, because, you know, I can show you my wins and my losses at the same time, you know, and you're gonna see it when I make a bad flake, or you know, when I screw something up. And I, you know, like on this piece here, last night we were working it, I was like, you know, I was stinking it up a little bit. You got a truckload of shame. Well, what I do though, Dennis, a lot of times is I'll throw those ones that are a problem for me, and I think we kind of talked about it last night, but I'll set them aside. I know Justin and I talked about it when he was over here Monday, and come back to it, you know, in a week or two, or next time I'm digging through my material, and you'll look at it and you'll think, well, that's not that bad, when at the moment you were frustrated and you were a little bit mad that this nice piece of rock was doing this to you. And the next time you pick it up, you've kind of forgotten that. Daniel, I've got a hillside that is some of the prettiest and sharpest. My wife has joked about that if she came up behind me and shoved me down, you know, there wouldn't be a lot left. It'd be like a meat grinder all the way down the hill. Said you could just about get rid of somebody shoving them down my rock pile. Yep, that's what I do though. Dennis, that's what you know, because like I said, you kind of forget why you were frustrated at the moment. See, now what we're doing here, guys, you can see all this mass on this end, and this end's fairly, Garrett, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. This end here is fairly thin compared to this end. All you're trying to do is keep everything even, and then thin your tips and your base. And with Daniel, thank you for the follow. With the mass, trying to keep it in the middle. So with that in mind, that's what we're going to try to do here on these next several flakes. See, that took a lot of that mass off this side, and what I'm doing is the same thing as I do when I'm pressure flaking or anything else, guys, is I'm building ridges. This looks just like a pressure flake platform that I would set up. It's isolated, it's got a ridge that I'm following, and this is going to be a nice removal. I'm gonna hit it a little higher on the margin, like more up in, show you kind of where I'm going to hit it. I'm going to set the tip of this punch, or where it's making contact, like right in that area where that dot's at. Well, a little bit lower than that. And you can see how that just... GMC, how you doing? Right on, man. We'll keep after it. Like I said, I was going to go just a little lower than that once I realized I put my dot a little bit high. But you can see how that pulled this big flake here, and then now we have these other platforms that are in line with ridges. So again, now this one's got a little bit of a valley right here. You see that little valley? So I'm going to save it and take this one first, and then use this one to clean up what's left. And this is going to be the same type of flake as that other one, just right across the top of that. And see how that took most of that other ridge that we were talking about. Got a little bit weird out here, but I think I should be able to get it coming back from this direction, or maybe right here. Yeah, this is raw stuff here, John. I've got some Crowley's Ridge. I've got some heated Crowley's Ridge, but this is raw. This is raw Burlington. This is a variant of Burlington from my area. This is what we did a while ago. I'm gonna do some finish work on that later, but oh, you're saying it's beautiful heat treated. Yeah, this would be some gorgeous stuff heat treated, but like I said, most of the well, even in the Dalton culture, heat treating didn't start until into the Archaic and on into the Woodland period. They were using the raw stone. They had not discovered heat treating on a wide scale. So, but I believe this came somewhere from either near St. Louis or over by like Western Illinois. This piece was gifted to me by a friend of mine, so. See, we're just taking, it's like a blade core. And all I'm doing is isolating this ridge right here. I'm feeling it, Don. Did you just get in here? You missed. I fluted the other side of that point. There, I think. Okay, that's the first side flute. You can see it went all the way to the tip. And then this one went all the way to the tip, and you can see our cross section there. I just got to do the edge work and the cleaning it up. That's another successful one, and I got that one on camera. Did that live last night and today. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you got you a good nap. I didn't sleep well last night at all. I was been concerned about the temperature here and the pipes in this old house, so we've been had the water dripping for the last 3 days. All right. See if we can I'm going to try to take one right here. I'm going to take a little bit off this back and then maybe have one more this way. I know this punch is a little bit, let's see here, where you can at least see the tip of it. Now that's what the contours and those big platforms will do. So now not only do I have a biface that I'm still working on, I've got an arrow point right here just waiting to happen. Put that in the bucket over there. Todd, you have a good day too. Glad you could come in and hang out for a while. Okay, so now what we were trying to do, where we were trying to get the base and the tip thinned down and leave that mass in the middle, and that's what we're working towards. little bit harder hammerstone. I'm working on a piece of raw Burlington that was gifted to me. I think this came from around St. Louis or just into Illinois somewhere. That's where my buddy used to live that picked it up. So I'm assuming it's somewhere in that area. Just trying to lower this edge just a little bit. But you can see we're getting closer. We've got an area like a ridge right here. I think I'm going to be able to take a lot of that with this flake. And that'll help even out the contours a lot. If I can really get this flake to travel, I might be able to get it to come over here into this edge of this mass, and then I've just got this little square edge type deal. Tag, I used to hunt for some, but when I was younger, but not as much anymore. I'm more of I hunt for material and sometimes find them when I'm looking for material. But for the most part, I just nap. And I do other primitive skills, but I do, I don't know what all I've got hanging around here. This is later today. If the temperature gets up, I'm going to go out and do some video work. I'm going to harvest a few trees for different projects. I've got a couple of projects coming up that I'm going to do some YouTube videos on. But this is an axe that I made, and I've got the videos, you know, of part of the manufacturing of this on my page also, if you guys want to see that. But I use all primitive tools, with the exception of, and that's my caveat. I use this drywall rasp, or it's the Shinto rasp, for like really heavy grinding and stuff, or shaping on the tools, just to save me some time. But then I always go back and I dress them with the rock because I like the texture that it gives them, the burnish and everything. But it saves me a lot of time on the overall shaping of it. Now, when I'm at a gathering or a nap-in, I just sit around in the evenings while we're all talking and stuff, and I'll sit and work on tools, on grindstones. I like it. It's kind of meditative, but as far as, you know, you guys, good morning, Bent Creek. Yeah, I did, Zach. I haven't done all the final flaking on it, but I'll tell you what I'll do. There was the second flute right there, and it went all the way down to the tip, both sides fully fluted, and you can see that cross section. I'll take and make a video. I'll download last night's live and get the fluting from both of those, and then I'll make a little clip so you can see it. Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna take a big flake on this, and then I'm gonna probably switch to the smaller punch, but this flake should travel almost over into this spot right here. It's kind of like I've told you guys that, hey Cody, good morning. The topography of the piece and where it's, I'm gonna have it kind of angled, and it should take something like that off there on this one. I'm not right on, Cameron. Well, I've got, and like I was just saying, I fluted that one this morning and then last night, but I'll go back today and make a video of both of the fluting shots and see if I can get some good footage so you guys can see that, if you weren't able to be in here live to see it. So Now that was the one spot I thought it might dip out in it, but it pretty well followed that line. Took most of it anyway. Seeing what that did is it left me a spot here to be able to clean that up. That's why I didn't take that flake first, because it would have gone into a little valley, and now it's just a little blending cleanup flake. And there's still a little bit of a valley behind it. Let me see if I can get it. Well, Dennis, it's just kind of like the, you know, it's the, you have it's like like a topo map. That's what I said. For the most part, that energy will flow, you know, at that contour line on the piece. It just, you know, it will. I think it would be really interesting to do like a contour. I've seen these little deals like from above. It's a laser deal. It's like, you know, for scanning, but it gives you the contours of something. And I guarantee you, I could lay one of these down in the angle I want to hit it and mark out the contour line at the level, and it would follow really close to that, because it's just physics. It's the same. You have the same laws that you have to follow, and it just, if once you learn where those are going like that, that's how I'm looking at this and knowing where, you know, my next setup. I'm expecting this flake to do this so that it sets this up. That first flake right there, you can see I just took that. It came off right here. And what that did is it gave me an angle on this side to go back this way. And I'm going to work this square edge in a zigzag. And this will go really nice and easy. Get set. There we go. See, I set that one off there, and you can see that little zigzag. Take one more little flake next to it. Then flip it over. And I'm just working back and forth. There it went. Now that square edge we had, you can see how it's, hey, saved, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. And I left this area here, now you can see I've got a lowered spot to come to the back side of where we just took that last flake, and you see that it's getting thinner and thinner, but I'm keeping that mass in the center and not on the tips. Yeah, what square edge, right, Dennis? This is really cool. You'll see this on a lot of tumbled stuff, and I'll show you guys. This is why some of this stuff will crack on you, especially near the cortex. I don't know if you can see. You see that little bump right in front of my dirty fingernail? That's casting clay. I'm working on some stuff here. Get that out of there. It's some blue casting clay. But all of these little, let me find some others, because I saw, okay, right here. Just right there at the edge of that flake, you see those little round spots that are sticking up? They're like little bumps. What those are is where this thing is tumbled down the creek. Those are where it's made contact with sharp edges and rocks. Those are actually cone fractures. Tag, I do occasionally work with obsidian, but mostly just raw stone for the most part. But I have worked with obsidian, with basalt, rhyolite, dacite, what they call the black butter obsidian, a lot of those different things. But most of the time I just work raw stone. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why when you're skinning one of these off, you can see all those little cone looking deals, and you'll recognize it when you see some that's river tumbled. And that's just little tiny cones where that thing's hit something, but it didn't hit it hard enough to break it, but it hit it hard enough to initiate that little cone fracture. And that's why you want to get that part of it off of that rock, because that's a spot, depending on how deep that goes down into the rock, that it can actually cause that, that fracture may continue through there. So I see that on a lot of river stuff around here that I pick up, is those little fractures. Well, this is a wish that I still had the bigger punch on, but I'm not going to switch it over. That right there should be a nice flake right there. And it just went right back across the same, oh, that's the platform that I hit. So now we have that lens shape there. Jenny, make sure you leave that water running. Okay. Sorry guys, I just reminded, we're trying to make sure that the water stays off for too long, and we could get frozen up. So I told her I felt like the water Nazi, but I've been stressing over it. So we just got a little longer to get through with this place here, and we'll be in a new house by the end of this year. So another nice little clearing flake across there. That one might make a little cahokia. A little bit of a coarser area right there. I hope that comes out of it, because that's right towards probably my base at this point. Oh yeah, Daniel, it's still bad here. My wife's at home, been at home all week. She was off on Monday because she works for our county, our local county. But yeah, they closed everything Tuesday. Sure, Rick. Really, what I'm grinding, I don't grind a whole lot. A lot of what you see like this, I'm actually turning an edge. I'm not trying to round it down. I'm just, because I'm actually, you can see, I'm not hitting the edge. I'm hitting just above the edge. But when I'm going to hit on the edge, if I know that I'm removing a flake from the edge, that's when I'll grind the spot. Like right here, see, I'm coming down this way from this tip, and try to take some of this mass off. So I'm gonna push down and away like that, and I'll show you what this platform looks like. Got a little bit of a flake that came up, but let's see, right there. You see how that's lowered down, and I'm gonna hook on just the end of that. And take a flake across there. Now, if you see, yeah, it was 0 this morning, Don, and it also strengthens it. What it's doing is it's removing, you'll see a lot of these little flakes that come off there. So I'm actually removing material that would normally, if you hit it or hit on that material, it would break away. And I call it's like a crumple zone if it comes, if it detaches that easily, then it's going to steal some of your energy and your flake's not going to travel the way that you want it to. So that's what that edge looks like right before I'm getting ready to strike. I'm going to take a flake here in the front of this and isolate this area and try to take that mass out of it. So here's the flake in front. That went right across the tip of that. Now you see how that isolated that ridge even more? So now I've just got a little cleanup area right here. Kind of drive this at an angle. But I am going to strengthen it just a little because I'm kind of holding on a funky angle. That one went out here. I've got a little bit of a line there. Let me clean this base up just a little bit here. Just trying to turn this back the other direction. Yeah, some of this is going to be a little bit more coarse down here on this end, but it'll be all right. Because now we're starting to get like convexity from side to side. I've still got this area over here. This side's fairly well cleared. There's a little bit right there, but you can see we've got thinness up here on what'll be the tip. We're a little bit thinner here. We've got an area of mass that I'm getting ready to attack on this side. Now, I don't know if you can see the flakes that are coming off. I'm not actually grinding that. I'm just removing these little flakes. It's not polishing or grinding it. It's just strengthening the edge back. With the antler, it needs to be a little bit sharper. It can't be rounded and dull when you're trying to take these kind of flakes. Unless you're using like when Ed Mosher uses those big moose billets. And that mass is actually what's tearing that flake loose. But with this, it has to be a little sharper. So that when that flake detaches, it has like a clean spot to, I don't know, it's hard to, it's like it's ripping the material at that point and not necessarily, even though that's not what happened, is what's happening, it's what it feels like or it seems like the way that the platform's set up. You're welcome, Rick. I'll show you what this one looks like too. You can see how that little nub right there, and I've got a little area of mass right here across this point. This area is going to be coming in as I start shaping this to make the Dalton out of it. So I'm worried about my contours. I'm just trying to build convexity in that point. You can see we're starting to get there, but this area right here has got to go away for that to happen. This should be a nice removal. Again, it's kind of like, if you look at this like a topographical map, this is going to be a little bit thinner flake. It's going to do something like that because you see when I accent or highlight that, you see that little, It's almost like a little mountain range that's you know, around that contour line. And that energy, when it detaches, now this outline depends a lot on where that platform, where it detaches, at what level of, you know, where it breaks off will determine exactly how big the area around that is. But we'll see. This should be pretty close. I'd say it was pretty close. You see how where it went out, and I went out with it, because all I'm doing is watching it follow those contour lines. I knew it wasn't going to go into this area because there's a little bit of a hill there that it would have had to climb. Mike, I fluted the other side of it this morning live, and I'm going to do a video after I get off here. I haven't done the final flaking on it yet, but I got well, and GMC, that's right on, Dennis. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. But we're going to do some finish work on this, and I'll get some pictures of it, and then I'll post a video of it. Hey, no worries, Damon. I mean, that's what I say. That's what it's about for me. You know, I mean, I like to see you guys, you know, Justin came over here Monday and sat with me for a while, and we talked, you know, about some stuff. Hey, Zach, thank you. I appreciate it. But we got him set up similar to, you know, with a punch setup, and just the look in his face when he could see what it was possible with, you know. I love that. So I love being able to share it with you guys, and I appreciate you coming in and being respectful and friendly, and I really like that. So I appreciate it. Maybe I am out of the coffee this morning. Well, I've got a little sip over here that I can. That's one thing that talking I get a little dried out sometimes. My throat get dry from talking so much. I guess it may be nature's way of telling me to shut up a little bit. I don't know. Now this is gonna, you see that little line that's left right there, that just right on top of a ridge. When I take this, it's gonna go right down that line. And you can see how that keeps changing that convexity. Right on, GMC. I've been out of school for a couple of years myself, so getting closer to 40 than I care to admit. I think this year's 37 years. All right, now I'm setting this one up over here to try to come back and take this. You can see that little area of mass right here and how this is kind of up this direction. Amy, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I don't want to lose too much off that because the point's going to run this way from this being the base to the tip. And I want to keep some width down here. Up here on the tip, it's not as big a deal because I'm going to be bringing it in. But just trying to at this point, you got to start thinking of the final dimensions and the contours. Now that it's starting to be, you know, it's a little bit more regular. We've got a little bit more convexity built into it. so we can really start adjusting the final contours on it. So I'm just really being careful and just kind of picking those little flakes off there to adjust that, because I didn't want to take a big chunk out of that base, because like I said, my point's somewhere right in here. So this is all going to come in this way. One more little spot there. I'm going to use a pressure flaker, I think. I don't want to make this too dull for the punch to sit on. And that hammerstone will eventually round it off if you brush it too much. There, I think that'll go. Yeah, that went out to right there. We've got another one next to it here. Went right next to it out to here. And you can see what that's starting to do to that profile. We're working this way, trying to isolate this area and get rid of this mass, and then we'll be fairly flat there. And then everything over here starts coming in this way. All right, and what I was doing right there, and the reason I kept flipping it back, is I'm looking at the contours as I'm doing that. I'm trying to use the little ridges that I'm creating on the other side for more blending removals. And you see how I set this entire edge is kind of leaned this way. It's set up for this face. So I'm going to come in from the base, it's kind of set at a spot, and then this is our last little bit of mass that we need to remove off that, is right in here, and then we've got an edge set up on this side. But oh, come on. Beefy platform to get it, there we go, to get it started. See how that thinned out what our base area, set that up nice. So now these I'm just gonna take that flake and see how that, I took that flake, but you see how that isolated that ridge. I removed this and it made that stick out. Beat Bop, most of it is self-collected, but I do get gifted some stone occasionally. So this is actually a piece of gifted stone from St. Louis or Illinois, somewhere in that area. Eastern Missouri, Western Illinois-ish is where this piece came from. Now this one, I'm wanting to taper it in, kind of in, just have it remove some of this mass right here. We're not trying to get, you know, big, huge flakes off there. We're just trying to adjust the contours. See, that just went right across that ridge that we set up. You can see the platform and what resulted from that. Now this is more of a blending type flake here, because there's a valley behind it. You see that little dip area right here. If I try to drive a flake through that, it's just going to go out here and step, and it'll cause me a bunch of issues. So what I'm going to do is just blend it in. See, that flake just kind of rounded in and went right to there, but it took that See how it kept that convexity? And that's the name of the game right now. At this stage in it, you should be building convexity for those to set that final thickness. And then you start doing your overall shaping and that kind of stuff. Let me ask you guys, let's see, I don't know how many I got in here. Thank you, Rick, I appreciate it. For those of you that are subscribers to my channel, how many of you would be interested in one night a week? There you go, time to nap. I didn't sleep very well last night, Kenosha. I'm about time to NAP. I already told the wife I'm probably going to take a nap today. Been snowed in and trying to keep the house from freezing up for 2 or 3 days, and I'm about stressed out. But this helps being able to come down here and hang out with you guys. But now what I was saying is, if any of you guys that are, how deep our snow? Yep, Damien, that's what, I've been, like I said, stressing over it. We're just trying to get through this winter, and we should be in our new house by next winter. So woke up this morning at daylight, it was 0. So it had warmed up a little bit. I think it got down to -3 or 4 here last night. And any of you guys that live in places, heat pumps, which is what is on our house, just not designed for temperatures like that. So it's really working it. And it's an old unit, so we're just like, come on, come on. Oh, the night show, it went well, Ken, or Kenosha. It ended up, I fluted one side, and then I fluted this side last night, see the flute, and then fluted this morning. I'm going to do some finish work on this, and we'll post it up. Damien, but yeah, what I'm thinking about, oh, GMC, that's too cold. But what I'm thinking is any of my subscribers that I've got to the channel, as another perk to that. Now, you guys know I do the giveaways. I actually haven't come up with a giveaway point yet for my subscribers for this month, but Kenosha, boy, I can tell you're from up north there. Oof da, it's cold. But for any of my subscribers, I'm thinking about doing like a live that's for subscribers only, one night a week. If there's enough interest in it, that would be, just for the subscribers to be able to watch. I think you can set up, content that way that would be just, as another thank you to you guys for the support and the, some way that I can give back a little bit that way. So if that's something you guys would be interested in. Oh yeah, I could hear it there, Kenosha. My ex-in-laws and all them, they're from up there just north of Chicago. Up there near Beloit, Wisconsin. Hey, Imogene, how you doing? Good to see you in here this morning. But no, if you guys would be, Don, I saw you say you'd like that. What night and what kind of format do you think, Don, that you'd like to see? Just like specific techniques or working specific problems? I mean, what would be something that you'd like to see more of, that I could, you know, I could make available to you guys. Because like I said, I'm just, you know, I'm trying to think of ways to, you know, I'd give a point away each month to one of my subscribers, but I'd, you know, I'd like to be able to have some more stuff that, you know, if you don't win the point, that working technique of the night, there you go. You know, and I just, the thing about it, Kenosha, is I like to have at least somewhat of a plan. You know, I've got a pretty substantial rock pile, and I've probably got something in there that's going to work for whatever everybody wants to see, but I need a little bit of time to dig it out and find it. Because I've got, over here to my left, I've got 6 buckets of various rock, and on this side I've got 2 milk containers. I've also got a pile of it behind my house of different stuff. So that the problem for me, Don, is I don't have a lot of big material. Most of the stuff that I get, you know, I mean, I might be able to show you some stuff like, you know, well, that's not really out of shape. This one has been worked on a little bit, but it's a chunky, you know, chunky piece. You can see how thick that is. Stuff like that I could work down. But that's about as big and out of shape. Now I've got a few, you know, my local stone. Oh, notches. Yeah, we could do some notching. I can get a really nice close-up camera angle and show you guys how I do notches. That would be a good one, Don. Because that's one that I encourage you guys, if you're wanting to get better at, just pick up a good flake and just start notching it. You know, if you can keep that flake from breaking, you're going to have a lot better chance keeping your point from breaking. There was a nice flake right there, guys. Show you the platform that came off of. You can see it right here where I struck that, and that mass right there came off. And you see how that removal, now it's isolated this area right here. So I'm going to set up another flake. Now this one won't be, it'll go out into about right here. We're getting a little close to time on this today. Kind of flying by on me. Guess that's what happens when you make a Folsom to start the day off with. Everything else just is, hey. About like last night, I think that had something to do with the reason I couldn't sleep, because I was really happy with how that flute turned out. Awaiting word on the scrap obsidian. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Kenosha, if there's, remind me of what you're meaning there. Emma Jean, I'm having a great day. I'm pretty happy with, you know, we're about to come out of this ice age that we've been in for a few days. And I and everybody else in this household are. Oh, awesome. Awesome, Kenosha Ken, or Kenku. I'll gladly work some of it. Do a little research and find some good point styles that would be appropriate, and absolutely I'll work some. Yeah, I'm telling you, Carl, and it's this morning, like I said, it was at sunup, it was 0, you know, so it's no joke. All right, I'm going to see if we could take off. It's a little bit of a sketchy platform, but I'm just trying to blend this little ridge right here. There's my platform, and I'm going to try to get it to follow along that ridge. Just like that. And that went almost to the other side. There's my striking platform. You can see this is where I struck it, and this is the removal. Yeah, I understand that. You don't want to anger the. I do, John, and depending on how far I want that flake to travel, sometimes I'll press pretty hard. But if I'm just trying to blend those flakes, I'm more just holding it in place and not putting too much pressure on it. Sometimes I'll actually hit it, like have it kind of floating if I'm just trimming. Now this is not a floating type flake. This is more of a, I'm just trying to set up an angle here to take some of this mass off the base, like that at an angle. This is some of that kind of chalky, trashier material down here. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to fight me just a little bit, but we'll adjust these edges. I think I can get it right here. But like right here, John, I'm not really pressing in as much as I'm just holding it in place, because I'm just trimming and taking nice little, like, just popping them out. And I could do this with a pressure flaker, with a hammerstone, and still do sometimes, but there's a lot of these little, this tool right here saves me a lot of pressure flaking in it. It saves my hands too. You can see how I just kind of picking up along that, and just nice, easy little blending flake that just blended out into that flat area. You can see how nice and flat, starting to get a really nice convexity. And we've got plenty of room to spare. Point's going to be this end, base this end. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding, Kenosha. That ice on the roof for falling, that crunchy sound, that'll get your attention. Especially you live out rurally like we do. Yeah, it does. This was a big deal for me to figure out, John. I've got carpal tunnel and arthritis. My carpal tunnel, I mean, I'm like at an operable state on that. Yeah, when you expect silence, especially like I said, living out here where we do, you hear something crunching around your house outside. That's not good. This whole area right here is just, I don't like the way it looks. It's that chalky, crusty material, and I'm getting ready to try to take an important flake off of it, and that makes me a little nervous. It's kind of like you're putting all your trust in the weakest link there in the chain. That's a little bit better. I think we can cheat the edge a little bit with that. I'm hoping it'll drive it through there. I'm going to kind of hold this at an angle, and I'm trying to skirt around this little fingernail hinge. You can see it right there. But it's in that chalkier stuff, and it's not wanting to run real well. So I just need to get through that, and then I should be okay, because it tapers out a lot on the other side. There's just this spot. So I'm going to get this at an angle. There we go. And that ripped it right across the top of that. Took out all the issue with that. Let's see if I can set it back in there. Ish. There we go. You can see where that rough material. But yeah, you can see what that flake removed mass-wise. So now we've got a fairly lens-shaped piece, and now we're going to start working to get our flakes, like we got a little area mass here. You can see underneath that, this area right here needs to be reduced. So that's what we're going to set up this next series for. But no, guys, be thinking about it. I'd like to do a subscriber only video where it would be for, set up for just those that subscribe to me. And I'm not trying to, not begging for subscribers. I'm just looking for ways to thank the people that are subscribing with, almost, I don't want to say private lessons, but to really be able to go in depth and not be dealing with a bunch of comments and people trying to ask questions, but just with my subscribers. So I'm going to keep working on that and get some more information. But if that's something you guys would be interested in, I would absolutely be up to it. Just I need to have enough interest in it where I'm not not spending a couple of hours and having one person in there just to. Absolutely, Kenosha, that's what I'm saying. I want to, if I can say thank you in a way that, where I can spend a little bit more time with somebody to explain what I'm doing instead of, as much answering general questions from the chat. It might even be something where we could do like where several people could get live at the same time. Well, right on, John. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of the things that, I've said before. I really do think that when I started paying a lot more attention to my edge control and setting stuff up and doing it right, because, and I thank you guys for that. Because, when I'm showing you how to do this, obviously I'm trying to show you the correct way, because if I do it incorrectly too much, then I'm just going to break or mess up a bunch of stuff. So it forces me, kind of like yesterday when I tried to do something with just a few tools. I was napping really sloppy. And so when I got on that live last night, I had made up my mind that I was going to work on my technique. So, but hey, well, Kenosha, there's a few guys on here that actually do little virtual nap-ins. Where I think Don, Stone and Bone. Yeah, I could show some of my notching tools, Don. Like for pressure notching. Let me see. There's the other one. Now, for pressure flake notching, I use these a lot for my thinner notches. This is a deer ulna bone that's been worn down, and then these are pieces of elk antler that are kind of ground with like a little, almost like a screwdriver tip on them. Those were both about that much longer when I made them. And then just a good sharp pressure flaker. And then I've got one other little, like, this one's about worn out, but it's just a little nub of an antler that I've saved that last little bit of the outside, and I can reach in and kind of drag the edges and clean them up with that tool. So that's typically for pressure flaking what I use. And then if I'm punch flaking or punch notching, these would be depending on how thick or wide. Matt, thank you for the follow. These would be the punches. That one needs to be dressed. It's kind of chopped up, but those are what I use for like calf creeks, or if I'm punch notching Hardens or Schneiders, those type of points, Lost Lakes. then I'm gonna probably punch them to get them a little bit deeper, or at least start them off. And then this is a tool that I've used for both. I've actually used that as pressure flaker, but I've used it as a punch also. You can see that little chisel tip on there. I use it more as a punch. But anyway, that's really all of my flaking or my notching tools. You take this little blending flake right here, and then I'll set this aside and we can work on it tomorrow if you guys want. If you want to see it beginning to end. It's a nice little... Absolutely, Don. Some of them are Kenosha, and some of them were named by the people that quote unquote discovered them. That's a great question, Rick. Right on, John. I'm glad I could help. But yes, when I'm doing the deep notches, I've actually got... Tell you what, we're basically at the end of the live, guys. I'll show you my stone that I use for an anvil. But you can see where that flake detached, and you see how that little ridge right there, it's just... Yeah, some of the point styles do, Kenosha, and then some of them are named after the people that quote-unquote discovered them. And then some of them, like, Folsoms were named after Folsom, New Mexico, even though they're found, all over the plains. Clovis, from Clovis, New Mexico. But a Dalton point was named, by the person that, like I said, that quote-unquote discovered them. Anyway, there's that nice removal off that. It just feathered in. Really set that base up nice for us. You can see we've got a little bit more area of mass next to it, and I'll work on that and set it up. But this is gonna make a really nice. Well, I said Dalton to start with, but it could be, we could do a Clovis, depending on how it works down. But I'd like to do a Dalton out of this material. It's very correct for that point style. So anyway, Rick, to get back to what I was saying, when I'm doing the deep notches, typically I use, I don't know if I can get this out of here without untying it, but no worries. I will set this, my stone that I use for the weight on my punch. It's got a lot of mojo to it. It's an artifact. And I could probably fill this bag with some other stuff besides this that would be, much easier to haul around. But there's just... Sorry, I had this all laced up and everything. But I'll show you the way it works here. So if I'm doing deep notch punching... Bree, thank you for the follow. Then I've got this underneath there, and that is a, I think it was a hide breaker. It's not a grindstone. It doesn't have grinding wear on it, but what it does have is an unbelievable polished patina. On the tip, you can see where that was. I think this was probably a hide breaker for staked out buffalo hide, that type of stuff. This rock was found near a rock overhang about 50 miles from where the formation of this material comes from. It's just a freaking amazing. I mean, this thing weighs right at 10 pounds. But what I do is I use it as like an extra mass for when I'm deep notching. Let me get a piece here and I'll show you real quick, see if that's set up good. I'll grab some of my, need to dress these, but I can use them like they are. I'm not trying to finish out a beautiful point, just show you. Let me just pick a spot here that would be similar to a profile for that. Okay. I'll take this and I'll just set that right on that edge and just pop that little flake like that. Then you take your may certainly be for leather, almost. Yeah, I'm not. I believe that this was probably, I think, was probably a hide break type tool for softening, like buffalo hide or whatever. But just because of the polish on it, it's not ground to shape. It's just polished. So anyway, I'm gonna set this just inside that, trying to get it to stabilize, just inside that where that little notch was, and hit it again. You see these little tiny flakes popping out. Good morning, MM Cash. So then I drag that down this way, flip it over, and you can see this little divot right here where that flake is at. You see that little pocket? All you want to do is make sure that the sides of that don't grab your punch, and you set your punch right down in that spot. See there? You can see these come out. They're like a little popped out, like a little cone. Let me see if I can get it to. There's the initiate. Well, darn camera won't. That was setting in that notch like that, and it pops out these little seashells. So then you drag your edges just like you did the first time to where your tool's not making contact with the sides. Put that in that notch again. Having trouble getting it to stabilize this morning. This piece is not quite what I normally would notch, but it's got similar contours, so we'll go with it. There was another one of the little sea flakes that come out of there. Once you get your notch started like that, you can see where it's, it's fairly uniform on the sides. We're working back in there. Then you can just set that punch right in the base of it. Pop another flake out. And that one actually thinned out in front of it, which is what you're hoping to do. Then I just shape and drag those edges. Put that tool right back in the base of that punch or that notch. Tap it again. Now I can feel that one grab the edges of my punch, which means it's a little bit narrow. If you try to drive that punch in there and it's making contact with the sides, it'll break it almost every time. So you want to keep that stuff drugged back to where your tool is not making contact with it. About to get it to release, I think. There we go. I needed that little flake to pop out. It was just a little too steep. Now, we'll just set it back here. And like I said, I can feel this grabbing those edges. You want to just constantly keep those edges whittled back so they're not making contact with your punch. And set that punch right in that little divot. And there's another one. Now I know it's harder to see these. We'll do some punch flaking up close. I'll set up a different camera angle so you guys can see it better, but you can see now how we're that far in. Let's see. Next flake right here. Now we're getting ready. That's the reason this thing wouldn't lay still, because I got this lumpy area in there that normally wouldn't be. Oh no, that's fine. This is just a little piece of antler. I believe this one actually might be axis deer, but I've got this one's whitetail. I've got a couple made out of, this is buffalo rib bone that I use. But deer antler, there's another one made out of axis antler. This is made out of buffalo leg bone. So there's a bunch of different corner tang day. Oh well, no, I was just showing somebody some deep notch in there, Blake. And I set my punch in with these others. There it is. But I do need to dress that. Now once you get, you bet. I'm gonna dress this up real quick. This is a lot faster than the rock, but I will do the final dressing on that because I like the way it treats the edge of the stone. There's no roughness to it. It's more burnished, I guess would be the way to put it. And normally I would have them all dressed up if I was going to do this, but because those rough edges, especially when you're using an antler tool, that roughness will actually grab the edges of the platform, and it'll cause it to pull off flakes in spots that you don't want it to pull flakes off in. And I actually prefer the texture that the rock gives it, but it's just it takes a lot longer. So for sake of time, if you guys wanted to sit here and watch me grind on my tools, at a nap in, I probably spend a couple hours a day resetting all my tools and stuff. So, you know, I like the aspect of doing it as close as I can to, you know, to get the feel of what they were making and how they were being made. So I do try to use as few of modern devices as possible. Looks like I need to make a new thin punch because this one's just about too thick to go in here. May still be too thick. We may. Absolutely, Rick. Let me show this one more flake here, and then I think I'm going to shut down for the day, guys. I get a better flake than that, though. There we go. And like I said, this is not a perfect piece to be doing this on because the contours weren't what I normally would notch, but it shows you what you can do. Absolutely, I'll pick that up in just a second, Sierra. Whoop. Oh, that's a good spot to leave it. That thing jumped about 8 feet away. But you can see how just working that back and forth and how we're walking that notch in and through a fairly thick area right here. So that's how I do my punch notching, but I use that anvil stone underneath there as a weight or as a mass to hit into. And let me see here, GMC Sierra, I'll show you where we stopped at. I'm going to pick it back up tomorrow. This is our cross section, both sides. There's our base end. We got it, you know, fairly thin. Got a little bit of mass here we're going to take off tomorrow. But it should come in nice as it's got a really good contours for that if I'm able to keep it going like that. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you coming in and spending some time this morning. I'll be live again tomorrow morning. Thank you, GMC. I appreciate it. I'm sorry to hear the the accident, Rick, I had an accident at work about 10 years ago that is one of the reasons why I picked up and started doing this, you know, in the research and the study and all that. Daniel, you have a great day too. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's all I work with, Rick, is just stone and antler bone tools. I've got a few wood mallets, but everything, you know, it's all natural stuff. Thank you, Kenosha. I appreciate it. You stay warm. I'm getting ready to go and check the temperature, and hopefully the sun's warming stuff up. So, guys, have a great day. Take care of yourselves and those around you. And until tomorrow morning, keep chipping.